Finally, I knew this was exactly going to happen. Look, you cannot deport migrants, you cannot levy tariffs, and then you expect things to be normal. In fact, remember when black farmers were asking for benefits or let's say grants and the government refused it? Well, something like that is happening to white farmers. In fact, it's not actually something, it's happening on a real time to white farmers. And now they are asking Trump for help. In this video, I'm going to break it down for you and I'll be showing you some clips, evidences of what is actually happening in 2026 because MAGA farmers are now begging blacks to save them. If you're new here, you're welcome. If you're returning, you're welcome. Please do well to subscribe to this channel, give this video a like, and let's make the channel grow. But first, let me tell you something. The truth about everything that is happening currently in the US boils down to one thing. I'm seeing this same thing repeat over and over, this same pattern. It's always focusing on black Americans. And for the longest period of time, I've been creating videos to talk about this. And this one really hits hard because it's something that's going to affect the whole country in specific. So let's get into the clip.
Y'all, in today's episode of As the White Hood Turns. So we've all heard that the job numbers came in, right? And only 22,000 jobs were added. And we all know Syphilitic Sid has said that maybe there won't be any numbers for at least 2, maybe 3 years until we can, get the numbers right, whatever that means. But that's not what I'm here to talk about. Did y'all see them farmers in Arkansas who are now begging Syphilitic Sid to help them? They are asking for a bailout. And I don't understand if they don't understand that a bailout is basically welfare for farmers. Now, mind you, I got no issues with farmers, right? Because without them, we wouldn't have, cabbages, broccoli, whatever, vegetables, right? Right, green beans, vegetables, tomatoes, whatever. But the fact that these people all voted overwhelmingly for Syphilitic Sid, now they're asking him to bail them out. And you know what he said? We're going to have to see how it goes. Because, there are more important issues. Like that $200 million ballroom. And that plane, apparently, that they still are trying to figure out what to do with that and how to renovate it, So, one man even said that his farm has been in his family for 3 generations. And he will not be able to leave his farm to his kids. Because if they don't get help, and soon, they're not going to have a farm. I want to feel bad. I promise you I do. And I do. But damn it, this is what you voted for. So I kind of got to be like, yay, for you. Maybe not for your kids who ain't going to inherit no farm. But there's plenty of kids ain't inheriting nothing. That was uncalled for. But you know what I'm saying. Okay, bye.
Look, this woman placed it well. And I think blacks have been saying this over and over. What you vote for is what you're going to expect. For I think the longest period of time, these white farmers just, especially in Arkansas, they felt like voting for Trump is going to give them a big win. But look at what is happening now. They are going bankrupt and they are begging the government. Meanwhile, the government isn't even giving them an eye. They're not even looking into the situation. It hurts so bad because, as for me, farmers actually feed the nation. Everything you get, the beans and all the likes. But that's what black people have been complaining about for the longest period of time, and we're giving deaf ears. But this next clip is going to even explain it better.
Had we just elected the black lady with the silk press, had we just elected Big Sister General, had we just elected the black lady with the weird laugh, had we just elected Madam the wheels on the bus go round and round, we would not be at war with Iran right now. And I know what some of y'all are thinking. Joshua, why are you screaming? Joshua, how many times you gonna say this? I'm gonna keep saying it until it finally clicks. Because folks, this was an open book test. Not only was this an open book test, the professor was at the board giving the answers, and we failed. And now we have 4 dead Americans as a result. We have F-15 fighter jets being shot out of the sky by friendly fire. Had we just elected the black lady with the weird laugh, folks would have money to purchase their first home. The American people would have quality health care. We would not be at war with Iran, spending billions of dollars of taxpayer money that has not been approved by Congress to fund this war. So I'm going to keep saying it, and I'm going to keep screaming it until the American people finally understand. If you could have just set your racism and your sexism aside and voted for Kamala Harris, we would be in a better position today.
When oil prices go up, so does food and almost everything else that is shipped on a truck. Oil prices will be determined starting on Sunday night, and oil and gas prices will go up. It will also affect your utilities. So the cost of goods, the cost of living is about to go up even further. If you didn't know, inflation was at 3%. Yeah, it was at 3%. It went up again. We lost over 1.2 million jobs in 2025. We lost 600,000 jobs in January. So rising fuel prices and food prices again, when there are almost 9 million Americans out of work, when 60% of companies plan on laying off in the USA, is going to be catastrophic. And don't forget, we have cut all social programs to help with higher cost and people who have lost their jobs. But you're still paying the same taxes. Well, where is that money going? Well, Republicans are in power, everyone. Of course, it's going to war. It's going to law enforcement. I hope that your mortgage company and the grocery store will be okay with you not being able to pay your bills. 10 out of 11 of the last recessions have been under Republican presidents. And by the way, this attack will cost us billions of dollars, billions, and cost of lives. Not mine. My family's already served. So, I don't know. Enjoy those higher prices starting on Monday.
For years, many MAGA voters were critical of foreign entanglement. They used slogans like America First to express a belief that the U.S. should stay out of wars, avoid nation building, and focus on domestic issues. They protested pastoral.
Trump administration now wants to make it easier for farms to hire immigrants after trying to deport all of them. After conducting mass deportation of farms and all of the ICE raids, Trump is now trying to get all of those immigrant farm workers back. Because it turns out Americans never wanted those jobs and they still don't. Shocker. And the farms are really pissed off about losing a majority of their workforce. So he's going to make it cheaper for farms to hire workers on an agricultural visa called the H-2A visa. Under this new rule, wages will be lowered even more. So
America already has labor shortages, housing shortages, rising inflation, expensive food, super expensive construction, super expensive rent, delayed infrastructure projects, and we're deporting immigrant workers at a record number at the same time. Who pours concrete? Who frames houses? Who installs roofs? Who tiles bathrooms? Who picks the crops that you eat? Who works food processing? Who works at the warehouses? Who cleans hotels? Who rebuilds cities after hurricanes and fires? Meanwhile, everybody's online screaming, why are homes so expensive? Why? Because reality matters. You cannot have labor shortages, tariffs increasing material costs, fewer workers, deportations, higher interest rates, and somehow expect housing prices to magically collapse. And this goes way beyond construction. Agriculture, restaurants, hotels, landscaping, warehouses, factories, elder care. Who's going to take care of our old people? America, whether you like it or not, has become dependent on immigrant labor, and it happened decades ago. And now people say, well, Americans are going to do these jobs. Okay, where are they? The unemployment rate in most skilled trades is super low. There are not millions of unemployed roofers, welders, drywall installers, masons, farm workers sitting home waiting to start work tomorrow. The workforce does not magically appear overnight after you kick everybody out. And now economists are warning something called a labor shock, meaning too many workers disappearing too fast. So what happens after a labor shock? Prices skyrocket, food costs skyrocket, housing costs skyrocket, project stalls, businesses panic, inflation goes crazy. So this is no longer an immigration issue. You don't like standing next to somebody who doesn't look like you, sound like you, act like you. This is becoming an economic issue for every American.
They all cheered for immigrants to be deported. They all cheered for them to leave their country. According to them, they said immigrants were the problem, that they were taking away their jobs, that they want American jobs back to Americans. And right now, MAGA farmers do not have workers. They are literally begging for the farmers to come back, or probably they should send black people to the farm. Yeah, they were there before, they already know these things, so why don't you guys just send them back to the farm? Anyways, the fracas has begun. Everybody told you guys about it. They told you guys what was going to happen. None of you listened. You said immigrants were your problem. You said that they have taken away your jobs, forgetting that the jobs that they do, none of you can do it. And now the farmers are complaining. They are not finding out exactly what everybody was wanting.
Check out how Trump's policies are destroying these red state farmers who voted for him, and we're going to be right back.
Now, I've never been as worried as I am now about whether or not my kids and grandkids will be able to carry on.
You said, I love you, Mr. Trump. I need to see the fruit of your love.
5 of my customers have committed. That's how serious that this is.
And what it costs for us to farm is astronomical now.
I farm with paid-for equipment. All my tractors are 50 years old, and I can't hardly make this deal work. I think the tariffs are the ice cream on the cake of a perfect storm.
After a horrible year last year where most farmers in Arkansas Delta lost money, this year's going to be worse.
So my son will not be the seventh generation on our farm.
We're going to lose 25 or 30% of the farmers in this country if they don't do something. It has to be done, and it's not just here. It's everywhere.
Now, a lot of my liberal followers are understandably, justifiably like, well, F around and find out. But that's a little too simple for my journalistic standards. There's something deeper going on here. Because if you have a historical understanding of how propaganda works on the human mind, I think everybody who's getting messed over by these Trump policies in red states who voted for him needs to start by suing right-wing media companies for radicalizing them into doing things that are against their best interests and echo chambering them out of the information that could have them more critical about his policies. I'll reiterate, if you ain't got the bandwidth to feel nothing for these people after what they've done, I feel you. But low-key, high-key, this is tragic, yo. Because even as late as May, a survey by the Purdue company of like 400 farmers showed that 70% of them still believe that Trump's tariff is going to have some kind of positive benefit for them. Remember that slew of executive orders that Donald Trump was just signing earlier on in the year? Well, it caused so much bureaucratic instability that it made the USDA pause funding for over 30,000 farmers in the United States. That was strike one. Strike two for the farmers was when Doge came in and gutted USAID. Everybody was like, oh, that's just a front for the CIA across the world. Maybe, but also it created automatic buyers all across the world for American-grown wheat and corn and anything that could bridge the gap for starvation. That's gone. Strike three was the deportations. These farmers literally voted for Trump to steal their workers and wonder why ain't no work getting done when all of these compounding factors are crushing them. Strike four, which is more than you're supposed to have, is what? The dude said it. The tariffs. He said it's the icing on the cake. We tried to tell y'all that it's Americans who pay the tariffs. Y'all didn't listen, so listen to these farmers. You know what's ironic? A lot of these farmers were dead silent or complicit in black farmers getting screwed over for decades by not only their peers, but by the USDA. So bad that they had to win lawsuit after lawsuit in the billions of dollars to get claims and damages done. And still the USDA was slow with paying them out. Had they not been so racist, they'd have had a larger coalition to argue for what they need. And what's even deeper is that a lot of these farmers' ancestors were given this land in the Homesteading Act of 1862, when freshly stolen land from Native Americans was given to European peasants for pennies on the dollar. We're talking about 1/10 of the U.S. landmass. The term chickens coming home to roost is a farming colloquialism that applies here with a ruthless poetic irony. I can't even really get myself to celebrate over this because I'm looking at how the sins of the father cascade down to the generations, how these farmers inherited not only land, but a culture from their forebearers that allowed them to be prime targets for propaganda like this. The only positive way that I could look at this is possibly a new beginning in disguise. Because if we're going to have an America that works for everybody, it's going to take these folks getting disappointed in this way to let this all burn down, metaphorically speaking, and plant new seeds for the future. That's just my take on it. What y'all feel? My name is Theo E.J. Wilson. Like, follow, and share this message out if you feel it. Holla back.
So the people who say no handouts just lined up for a handout. Now tell me why farmers in Arkansas are standing outside with their hands out again, begging Uncle Sam for money. See, when it's regular people struggling, rent too high, groceries too ridiculous, can't afford health care, the answer is always from these people: stop complaining, stop asking for handouts, and pull yourself up by your bootstrap. Farmers in Arkansas are crying out to the feds for stimulus money like it's open mic night. And look, I get it, because times are hard everywhere. But when you plant your crops, raise your cattle, take on the risks of farming, I mean, wasn't that a personal business decision? So why is it on me and you to make sure that that decision keeps paying out? Because see, when you and I make bad decisions, government doesn't cut us a check to make it right for us. Now, let's connect the dots here a little bit. These are the same people voting for the same politicians who say government is the problem. Yet as soon as the tractors stop running and their profits dry up, government magically turns into a solution for them. Ain't that funny and ironic? The question is, do we owe farmers any help? Or do they need to practice what they preach? Figure it out. Tighten that belt. Leave taxpayers out of it. Because last I checked, it's really not our problem to fix somebody else's gamble.
Damn it, Obama and Biden. Because of you all, the United States can't sell their soybean, and farmers in West Virginia can't sell their shit, and they're going to lose their homes. And if it wasn't for Biden and Obama, none of that would happen, because then Trump wouldn't have had any reason to go to war with China. And they wouldn't have any reason to be boycotting. Get the fuck out of here with that shit. And I'm not going to lie. We were talking about how we want to feel bad for the farmers. Because what happens to them happens to us. The problem is they didn't care what was going to happen to us, and it's happening to them first. And you cannot feel sorry for farmers when they done this to themselves. They done this. They endorsed him. They all went out and voted for him, knowing what he did to them his first term. They're like, well, he won't do it again. Okay. Anyway, it's just hard to feel sorry for him. We're all in trouble here. But you know what? They were hell-bent on fucking around and finding out for the second time. And they put us all in this position, not just them. A lot of people, a lot of companies. And a lot of companies are like, oh, well, we messed up. You sure did. Live with it. We have to live with your decision. So enjoy that shit. Take power with it. With your full chest. Remind yourself every morning when your company's going down the shitter, especially if you're a small company. Because they like the big companies. They just don't like the small. Small businesses, they ain't for all that shit. With your full chest, make sure you tell yourself every morning, we done this. Have a great day.
So them farmers really thought we was coming to get in them fields? Is that what I'm reading? Y'all really thought we was coming to get in those fields? It's funny when black people say stuff. Like over a year ago, when we said that Donald Trump specifically saying that immigrants were coming over here to steal black jobs meant that him deporting them was supposed to open the door for us to get back in the fields. Of course, immediately, most people said, y'all are reaching. Now here we are. They are literally on Twitter, all over social media, complaining about the fact that we did not come into those fields. I get the unemployment rate is rising rapidly in the black community. I believe for us, it's about 7% compared to about 4.5% for just about any other demographic. But that also means that 93% of us have jobs. 93% of us are working. And 93% of us were never coming out into those fields to pick your stupid crops. Y'all are supposed to be the pick them up by their bootstraps people, right? Y'all are always the ones talking about earn this, that, hard work, this, that. But then y'all never want to do your own damn work. Y'all brought us over here, all right? We spent hundreds of years doing that stuff for free. We spent another 100 years after that with Jim Crow rights. We fought, bled, died, protested, did everything we possibly could to gain the rights that we have now. We live in this country, we work, we own businesses. We are not going back to your fields. Can y'all just let that shit go? Like, can y'all let it go? It ain't gonna happen. And there's nothing you're gonna do to make it happen. You don't got the numbers. You don't have the manpower. We're not going back. The experiment failed, okay? And now guess what's happening? Food is rotting in the ground because y'all really thought we was coming back out there.
North Dakota is begging. Farmers in North Dakota are begging for help with soybeans. If you did not know, North Dakota sells 70% of soybeans to China, but wait, it gets worse. We are giving Argentina $20 billion. And then guess what? They effed us. They turned around and they canceled their export tax to China and they sold their soybeans. Also, China has bought soybeans from Brazil, Argentina, and they have multiple year deals. We have sold $0 of soybeans to China from North Dakota or any other state. Yes, North Dakota voted for Trump, not once, not twice, but 3 times. They are begging for help. We are giving another country $20 billion, and we stole lunches from kids. We stole cancer research from kids. We are stealing health care from American citizens who actually pay taxes. And we are giving almost $5 trillion of tax cuts to billionaires over the next 10 years. So when you think, oh, I don't want to pay for your health insurance, that's not what you're doing. What you're doing is giving money to other things and other countries instead of the people living here. I pay taxes as well, and I get a right to choose where and how my taxes are used. It should be America first, people first, children first. Do you agree? Drop your comments below.
Caleb Ragland is the president of the American Soybean Association, and he just wrote an op-ed for a right-wing publication, and he said in there, quote, "Like many of my fellow farmers, I voted for President Donald Trump in the past 3 elections. The president won me over with his commitment to business-friendly tax cuts, as well as his track record of reducing regulation and cutting government spending. I am one of 500,000 soybean farmers in America who feels the pain. As a businessman, President Trump must know how urgent this is." Does he? Is he? Anyway, he goes on to say, the current trade war with China is a gamble with American livelihoods, especially for farmers, those of us who grew up with soil and sweat, who can't imagine doing anything else. Mr. President, I hope you hear our plea. Please make a deal with China now. Yeah, so he doesn't get it. He doesn't get it. There is no deal to be had. As of now, the majority of Trump's base is sticking with him on these tariffs. But it's gonna catch up with them. They're gonna realize sooner or later there are no deals. He is not the deal maker. He screwed up. And no, China is not begging and pleading and knocking on our.
Not Arkansas farmers asking for handouts. Arkansas farmers met with government officials last week to ask for government subsidies or some type of subsidy payment to help them because they were losing their farms. These are the pull them up by your bootstrap people. And before you feel sorry for them, they voted for bone spurs by 78% in the 2024 election. This was up almost 50% from the 2020 and 2016 election. They almost lost their farms after 2016 when he was elected the first time, and they had to bail out the farmers because they then asked for handouts as well. Then they vote again for bone spurs in 2024. They vote for the same guy in 2024 that made them almost lose their farms between 2017 and 2021. Same guy. They vote for that same guy who created a soybean and corn crisis because of his tariffs on China. Same guy. They voted for him in exponentially higher numbers in 2024. And now they're asking for handouts again because of tariffs. And these are the pull them up by your bootstrap people when it comes to poor urban neighborhoods. These are the go back to your own country people, even though they employ those same exact people for way less than minimum wage. These are the people who are just fine with taking away the rights and subsidies away from other communities as long as you don't touch them. And the reason why I think that 78% number is so diabolical is because of what Joe Biden did when he was in office. Joe Biden invested $3 billion into 135 five-year projects that would financially incentivize farmers to implement climate-smart projects and practices. Within the Inflation Reduction Act that was passed under Joe Biden, $19.5 billion was invested to support conservation practices with farmers. 28,622 contracts were awarded to farmers under that act, and those contracts were terminated by the Bone Spurs administration. The Inflation Reduction Act also supported the Empowering Rural America program, which was the largest investment in the rural electric system since Roosevelt in 1936, investing $9.7 billion across 24 states for this program. And people ask where the money was spent. $3 billion to make 9,901 improvements to renewable energy systems to make them more efficient for farmers and less costly, bringing down their overhead costs so they can keep more money in their pocket. $29.2 billion into research and innovation for farmers and agriculture in general. $300 million to help farmers to transition into organic production. $85 million for farmers to enhance their processing capacity, as well as promote domestic organic products. $262.5 million to higher education for people in the agriculture field. $2 billion to farmers who felt like they were discriminated against when they tried to get loans from the USDA. $1.4 billion to help smaller facilities expand. $336 million in grants for meat and poultry expansions. $420 million to enhance local and regional supply chains. $1.3 billion in local food purchasing agreements. $800 million for state governments to purchase unprocessed food from local farmers to feed to the children at school. Biden's Emergency Food Assistance Program purchased $2.5 billion worth of locally grown food for food banks. By the way, all of this has been cut, and I'm not done. $100 million in grants to 42 states to expand their emergency food assistance programs in underserved areas. $4 million per year to the Farm to Food Bank program, which helped not only to get more unprocessed food to people who need it, but it also helped create business for local farms. Like I just said, all of these programs have been done away with. So not only are the farmers now feeling it because of these tariffs, the same tariffs that crippled them during Bone Spurs' first term and his first trade war, they're also not getting the subsidies and benefits of the programs that Biden had put in place for them during his term. And 78% of the Arkansas farmers looked at all of those things that I just listed that they got from Joe Biden and Kamala Harris was going to continue doing. They looked at Bone Spurs with his 34 felony counts and his 4 indictments. And they looked at the black woman who would keep Biden's policies going, the same policies that were pulling them up, the same policies that were slowly but surely pulling them out of the red. And they said, I'll go with the felon. How did you not expect to get robbed?
Another day, another group of MAGA supporters are regretting their vote for Donald Trump. In Arkansas, a group of farmers held a town hall to discuss their grievances under the current administration's policies and how it's impacting them.
Now, I've never been as worried as I am now about whether or not my kids and grandkids will be able to carry on.
The federal government steps in to save them. Farmers have no one to turn to but God.
Farmers, in my opinion, it's only my opinion.
And who did you vote for president?
Mr. Trump.
Right?
Trump. Mr. Trump.
If the election were today, Frank, would you vote for Donald Trump?
No way. Couldn't happen. No.
We're going to lose 25 or 30% of the farmers in this country if they don't do something. It has to be done, and it's not just here. It's everywhere.
If there's no emergency funding this year, there will be 1 out of 3 farmers will file bankruptcy.
Guys, like one of the best corn crops that I have ever raised in my life. And because of the tariffs, China will not fucking buy it. And they are the only country in the world other than, well, they are the only country in the world.
See, as you can see, the more you fuck around, the more you're going to find out.
What most amazes me about MAGA is their inability to actually know any of the policies, be educated on what they're voting for, and taking everything that Donald Trump, a known liar, says at face value. The fact that you heard all the pushback and grievances from people who look like me and you said, no, I'm white, this is going to be for white people, white jobs, white farmers, and in fact, Trump is crippling the economy and you're feeling it. So I don't think your prayers and praying together and pleading to Trump is going to change the scenario you're in, because this government caters to oligarchs and those at the top, not you and your farm. And now you're hemorrhaging because you don't have the workers, because ICE is capturing them, and then you also can't produce on your farm because you don't have subsidies anymore. Another day in Trump's America.
Yeah, I want to jump on the bandwagon of saying that I regret my vote for Trump. My whole family does. My husband and I own a farm in Ohio that was funded through the Inflation Reduction Act, which Biden signed into law. And now the executive orders from Trump are rolling back all of that funding for us. So now we can no longer afford our farm. And when all that happened, it was like a lightning bolt hit my brain. And I realized that I shouldn't just be voting for myself, that Trump's policies and EOs are hurting millions of people. But it took it affecting me personally to understand what I had done was wrong. And I think it's really important for anyone to come out who voted for him and is now negatively impacted by the executive orders, or maybe you have friends or family, especially in minority communities, who are being very heavily impacted by what's going on right now. So yeah, I think it's time for us to stop being so selfish maybe, and to vote for what's best for the country instead of just in our tiny little bubble, because we're all in the same boat now and we're all equally screwed by our new president.
I think these clips have explained it so well. I just don't think I have so much to say. But I think there are a couple of points I came out with. The first one is immigration greatly affected farmers. There are no workers to work, so the cost of production is quite high. Why? Whites do not want to go to farms. They want blacks to come to their farms, which blacks are not willing as well. They have been willing to pay high, but no workers are available. Look, the migrants that came to the country were the ones responsible for taking care of the farms. Again, they were even having low wages, and they were doing it very happily. Now the tariffs came in. Other countries were purchasing soybeans, for example, stopped buying from them. They started finding other countries like Canada, Brazil, and they've realized that these countries are cheaper. So at the end of the day, America is left with no labor, can't provide food for their citizens, and they don't even have international clients to sell. So what is the way forward? This is what they call FAFO, when you fuck around and then you find out later. I think blacks have spoken about this so many times. They have tried to say this. In fact, during the midterms, they said this over and over, but it didn't go anywhere. What are your thoughts about this, guys? Thank you for watching. If you love content like this, please do subscribe, give this video a like, and I'll see you in another one. Bye-bye.